It's only after I started BookTube when I realized how unorganized all my books are. And it's only now that I finally got a mini bookcase to put all my books in. However, there are some challenges with this mini bookcase.
I've accumulated many books throughout the years, and I really enjoy most of them. However, I just leave them on the floor. I don't take care of them like I should. Sometimes I just throw it in boxes, or even throw it on shelves and forget about them, and they collect dust. And I even use it as a night lamp for a nightstand, or just on the coffee table. So now is really the time for me to pick things up and not put it down, but start organizing them, start thinking of how I want to utilize it in a small mini bookshelf that I have. Yeah, I gotta really think about this and organize it in a way that makes sense for me. I do wish I have a bigger bookcase, but this will be fine.
Okay, so it is getting kind of dark in here. It probably wasn't a good idea trying to do this around the evening time, but I'll turn the lights on and see how it looks like. One of my favorite books, Archaeology: A Very Short Introduction. In another life, not too long ago, I was out there in the field digging. I do miss it, but all the dust and all the I used to carry this around with me everywhere I went. I really, in another life, this was for me. Maybe sometime in the future. Who knows? So first thing first, I have to really think about what I'm putting on this. So when thinking about that, I really have to choose which books I'm gonna keep and which books I plan to donate. One of them being right now is The Ranger Apprentice. I do have a collection from book one to book five over here. I I think I'm gonna donate that. I read it all once when I was younger, but I don't think it's a reread for me. I mean, I really enjoyed it, but I think it's time for someone else to get into the adventure. Now, what I used to do back then, I used to donate a lot of books. I joined this organization, Jumpstart, and we started a really cool fundraiser to donate books to kids who are under four. It was really successful, so I do have a few books that I'm gonna be looking to donate. There's no point of keeping them if I'm never gonna read them again, but I think someone's gonna really like this. I'm almost done. So the way I set this up is the first row is to be read because I started on some of them and I haven't started on some of them as well. So it's half I need to finish and half I need to start. And then the second row is after that. So Beyonders, yeah, I'm halfway through Beyonders. So the second book, I'm going to start on that after I finish the first Beyonders. And then, yeah, so the second row is going to be to be read. And then the third row is books that I've read that I might reread or I'm hoping to maybe lend it out. All these books I'm going to lend out. But the third row is basically all the books I finished. So I'm going to show you a closer look at each book. Okay, so we're gonna start at the very first row. I Some of these books I've read halfway or maybe just starting or even close to very finishing. I have a bad habit of not finishing some books, even if I really like it. So let's start with one of my favorites, Kiki Delivery Service. I watched this book, I watched this movie years ago before I realized there was a book. And then I just had to get it because it is one of my favorite movies. I got about three chapters in. That's a book that I look forward to finishing maybe this week. And here's the last map maker. I read Christina Soon. I can't say her last name, and I don't want to butcher it. But I read her book, of her book last year, and instantly became one of my favorite. It was one of those books that I devoured. Another one that I do really enjoy or look forward to is this one right here. I know this book is a classic from many years ago. I ended up picking a copy, but I never read it. So this is one of those books that, and it looks a little beat up because right when I got it, I left it in my backpack and I kind of just forgot about it. Oh, there's one more book. So this book right here, I was traveling last year, and right away when I saw this title, The Life of the Stupid Man, I don't know if that was what I was feeling at the time, or I just resonated with it, or maybe the title itself just caught my attention. But either way, I ended up picking it up. I read the first story, so it has short stories in there that are pretty different. And the first one was pretty cool because it had perspective of 10 different people telling the same story to find an answer of a mystery murder that happened. So let's move down to the second row. Right away, I've noticed a error in my setup already. I don't know if you noticed it, but it is The Great Gatsby. It's what inspired my channel, or inspired the name anyway. It should be in the bottom row because the bottom row is all the books that I finish and plan, or maybe plan to read again, or lend it out. I have not seen the movie, but I heard good things about it. I try not to hear about any spoilers or anything, so I don't know how far away they stray from the source material. But I do look forward to watching this one day. I don't know when. I don't watch a lot of movies, so when I do get a chance, I'll check it out. Let's see, another book. So some of these books, I put it here so it's to be read. It's next on my list. So when I finish one of the books from above, for example, Beyonders book one, which I'm close to finishing, I have book two right here ready to go. I really enjoyed reading the first book, so I knew that this was something that I was going to finish. It's action adventure, pretty creative writing, and it was easy. It was easy to read, so I really enjoyed that. So all of these books here are next on my list. I do want to talk about this one. It's in French, half English. So I am starting to learn a little bit of French so that I could read this book and understand it fully. The cool thing about it is that it does have the English translation on the left side of the page for these poems, but I do kind of want to read it in the original language that it was written in. So I'm excited for that. Okay, so this is the last row. Most of these books I have finished, or you're just gonna wait until I finish the second row and then come to this row. Now, when I was talking about what I was talking about earlier with one of the books that I enjoyed, this was one of my favorite reads of last year. It was just one of those books that really, really pulled me in, no matter where I was at or no matter what I was doing. This book was on my mind. I know it sounds cheesy, but that's just the truth. It's about these two characters right here. This is the main character, Pong. So Pong, he was born in prison and he eventually escaped. It's not a spoiler because it does tell that in the back. But anyway, so he ends up becoming a monk and he goes through this crazy adventure of that kind of goes full circle and he has someone chasing him throughout his whole story. So it's pretty fun. It's pretty unique. I thought it was one of the most creative writing, and it has a lot of comparisons to like the class structures that we have here in our society: lower class, middle class, and higher class. The cool thing about it is that even from the cover alone, you could kind of see what the light represents. And I don't want to dive too deep into it if anybody haven't read it yet or is interested in reading it, but another one that I really enjoyed that I read years ago was The Salt Path right here, which is based on a true story about this couple that ended up getting homeless because of medical reason, along with some other reasons. This book really captured like different perspectives for me because even though they were homeless, the story that they were telling people on the road was that they were traveling doing a hike. I think if I remember correctly, it was based somewhere in Europe. I really enjoyed the realism in the story. It was just pretty raw, and it was pretty eye opening for me because sometimes my perspective is here in America, and then reading about a story like this in a different part of the world is just the struggle is real. The struggle is everywhere, and this is another one I highly recommend. The books that I am worried about is The Lord of the Rings. I don't know if I'm ready to travel back to Middle Earth at this point. I find myself watching the movies more now. Even though I prefer the books, I do watch the movie more. I actually, this book right here, Tuesday with Maury, I think I'm gonna donate this book. It's a really great book. I really enjoy it, and I feel like someone else should read this and see if it's something that speaks to them like it spoke to me. Another really great book that I enjoyed. Out of all these books, the one that I usually reread is probably The Giver, a fairly short book. Read this back in middle school, and it was one of the books that basically made me get into books. This might give away my age because I don't know if middle school students still read this book nowadays. But if any of you do, let me know what you think of it. I thought this was the idea of having a black and white environment and just having one person, or I don't know how much I'm giving away, so I'm just gonna cut off right there. But this is one of those good ones, one that I read quite often. The Alchemist is another one that I read quite often. Ghost Book, during the right time, it's coming out. I'm gonna put that on display during the Halloween or during the fall season again. That's another good one. I really like. I'll bring it up because I had this in one of my other videos. This book right here, I thought it was just simple and genius at the same time to me. This is another good one. So I do have a bunch of books that I'm donating or giving away. The first line is probably friends and family to see if anybody wants them, and then I'll look for a thrift shop or yeah, most likely a thrift shop to kind of donate it to or give away to, so it'll come back at a lower price for anyone. Now, one of the books that I just wanted to share real quick that I was really excited for was Asymmetry. I heard so many good things about it, and then when I started it, it just did not vibe. It didn't sit well with me. It was some parts confusing, some parts not making any sense, and when it did make sense, it just didn't pull me in like I was hoping it would. That's when I started to chase books that were more um, interesting to me, regardless of the age level, regardless if it was young adult or for adults, older adults. But yeah, this is one of those books, and the cover itself is it's really nice. But there is one more book that I was hiding at the very top that I wanted to show off. It is the most important book. It is where all my bookmarks are. Sometimes I just have bookmarks inside books that I forgot, and then when it pops out, it's always cool. I always try to get something that's pretty cool and unique. This is a Apple trivia. Can't remember where I got this one from, but it's talking about apple cider and stuff, so that's pretty cool. And whoa, I got a glass for the solar eclipse that's coming up. What's really cool is some places people would just be standing out there watching and then sharing these glasses. I hope that whoever's watching that you get a chance to take a glimpse of the solar eclipse that's about to happen. All right, that's enough. If y'all stayed here till the end, thanks for watching. Until next time.